Hello, future counselors. I'm Matt, and this is Jen, and this is our son Mason. And together we make up the Rollins family, and we lead the teens here in the beautiful Seattle, Washington. I've been a teen camp counselor for about 5 years.
And I've been going to camp for about 12 years, 7 of those as a camper.
Obviously, teen camp has a pretty big place in our hearts. And what we want to do is make sure we extend a big thank you for you being a counselor from all of our parents and families in the Northwest. You don't always get thanked by the teens, but believe me, you're making a big difference in their lives and subsequently their families' lives as well. I know many of you are sacrificing a week of work and taking a vacation week just to come and be with the teens. And while that might not seem like vacation, you are making a huge impact in the lives of each of these teens, and your sacrifice won't be forgotten.
And that's really true, because I still am grateful, and I remember all the counselors I had at camp, and they made camp so much fun and so memorable for me, and I wouldn't be the woman I am today without them.
Yeah, so what we've asked each counselor to do this year is watch a series of 6 videos, each of them under 10 minutes, including this one. They're going to equip you to be the best counselor that you can be. The videos in no particular order are: what is a counselor, how to handle conflict, how to get deep in conversation with teens, how to lead an effective discussion group, and how to bridge the gap between the teen and their ministry back home, which is camp follow-up. So these are going to be easy to watch. They're going to be helpful to you to become the best counselor that you can be. So what I want to do now is share a passage with you guys and talk about coming into camp spiritually prepared. Welcome to my office. So as I said before, we're going to talk a little bit about being spiritually prepared for camp. There's 3 things you got to remember when you are thinking about being prepared spiritually for camp. The first one is you have to be aware of what you're getting yourself into. That's half the battle. If you got that down, you're really going to be helped out. The second one is prayer, and the third one is being connected to the teens in your church before you go. So I want to read a scripture to you. It's in Mark chapter 6, and we're going to talk a little bit about being aware of what you're getting yourself into. Mark 6, verse 30. It says, "The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going, they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, 'Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest.' So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. 'This is a remote place,' they said, 'and it's already very late. Send the people away so they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat.' But Jesus answered, 'You give them something to eat.'" So you guys are probably very familiar with this passage, and you know it goes on to talk about the feeding of the 5,000, and how 5,000 people were fed from 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It's a pretty amazing story. But here's the thing, if you want to be prepared for teen camp, you got to connect with these disciples a little bit. It was a long day for these disciples. They were following Jesus, and they were called to teach, to heal, to have compassion on people, to introduce people to Jesus, to teach people about Jesus, to bring people to Jesus, to feed them, to do all sorts of things for them. And they didn't even have a chance to eat. They were so busy. And I don't know about you guys, but hunger is a pretty bad enemy. I have a 4-month-old son, and his first response when he's hungry is to cry. It's not always the most pleasant thing. I'm a 27-year-old man, and the first response I have when I'm hungry is to cry. Thankfully, I've learned self-discipline after all this time, but on the inside, I'm crying. On the outside, I become a whole different person. I've had to apologize for things I've said when I'm hungry. I'm not that nice. I'm difficult to lead. I'm, all sorts of things. Don't mess with hunger. I'm sure many of you guys can relate to that. Now, these apostles didn't have a chance to eat. Jesus notices that and invites them to come to a solitary place, and when they try to leave, all these people they've been serving follow them there. And you can imagine that is probably fairly annoying for these disciples. And so these people have more needs, and they're called to give on more, and then to top it off, Jesus pulls a class act and begins to preach for the next few hours and teach these people even more things. It's got to be a pretty tough lesson to get through if you're one of those disciples and you're already hungry. So eventually it's dinner time, and these disciples say, hey, look, these guys got to go find something to eat. We can't feed them, so they got to go. What Jesus tells them is pretty significant. He says in verse 37, Jesus answered, you give them something to eat. The way this relates to teen camp is you are going to be like one of these disciples. People, teens and preteens, are going to be following you guys around. It's going to feel very difficult to find a solitary place to get away and take some time. These teens and preteens are going to need your friendship, your mentorship, your love, your care, your compassion, your faith, your zeal, your enthusiasm, your fun, your mind, your spiritual maturity. They're going to need all sorts of things from you, and you're going to feel hard pressed to continue to give to them no matter what. And they're going to need things from you that you're going to feel like, I can't give. But here's the thing. Just like these disciples were called to give, even when they were hungry, even though they had nothing and they were meant to give food, we at Teen Camp are called to give. Even when it's hard and we feel like we have our own problems, we have our own lack of spirituality, we have our own sin, we have our own issues, we're still called to give. It's going to be hard. We're going to have to dig deep in our heart and in our life and into God in order to give to these preteens and teens. That's just the way Teen Camp is. And the amazing part is, by submitting to Jesus and His commands, the disciples paved the way for one of the greatest miracles in the Gospels. All 4 Gospels record this miracle, which is pretty rare and it's pretty significant. Jesus provided the answer and the disciples fed it. At Teen Camp, Jesus is going to provide nourishment spiritually for these teens, but you are going to give it to them. So be aware, when you go to Teen Camp and you're a counselor, you are called on to give and give and give. Knowing that is half the battle. Don't say I didn't warn you. The second thing that's really important is prayer. I can't say it enough. Pray, pray, and then pray more. Pray now until after camp about camp. Pray for yourself, pray for the counselors, pray for the facilitators of the camp, pray for the facilities, pray for the other counselors, pray for your co-counselor, pray for the teens in your cabin, pray for the preteens, pray for yourself, pray for as many things as you can in order to be connected. Because the more connected you are, the more you're going to be excited to be there. And those are the kind of counselors you want. The last thing that's really important and helpful to you spiritually is connecting with the teens in your church as much as you can before Teen Camp rolls around. Because the thing about Teen Camp is it is hands down the most significant spiritual week in a teen's life in the entire year. We've taken surveys and I've asked teens personally, and that's their number one answer. You get a part to play in that. You get to be their mentor and the person they look up to at Teen Camp. And the more that you spend time with these teens beforehand, the more you get to realize how excited they are to go and how enthusiastic they are and how much it means to them. And the more you wrap your mind around that, the more eager you are going to be at Teen Camp too. And as I said before, those are the kinds of counselors we want at Teen Camp, the eager and excited to serve ones. So thank you again for volunteering to be a counselor. It's going to make a huge difference. Your impact is not going to be forgotten. It's going to stick with these teens, and they're going to remember you and your service and your love. So thank you for watching this video. Enjoy the other 5 videos. If you have any questions leading up to Teen Camp, feel free to contact me. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon.